Hello everyone. So in this video, we are going to cover the IR section of Vision IAS Monthly magazine. We have already covered the polity section of monthly magazine. Now let's start. Okay. First is related to US protectionist measure. Protectionist is just opposite of globalization. In globalization, there is a integration with the rest of the world. In protectionism, there is protection of domestic market, and that is why restrictions are imposed. Okay, so recently after election, Donald Trump decided to withdraw from various institutions, for example WHO, that is World Health Organization. Apart from that, US also decided to impose sanctions on ICC and its officials. What is ICC? International Criminal Court. So basically ICC is set up through Rome Statute. India is not a party to this ICC. Apart from that, US also announced its withdrawal from the Paris Climate Change Agreement. Now, it is important to note that why USA is doing so. USA is having a significant trade deficit. Trade deficit basically means they import more than they export. So US have significant trade deficit with countries like China. It also have a trade deficit with India. Trade deficit means what? This pen, let's say this pen could have been manufactured in USA, but now it is being imported from China. So argument of US president is that why we are importing it, why we cannot produce it. If we will produce it domestically within US, it will lead to employment generation. So that is all about protectionism. Next news is related to minilateralism and multilateralism. See, understand, multilateralism basically means multiple countries will come together to decide common agenda. Now, the problem with multilateralism is that the progress is very, very slow. That's why what countries are doing, countries are forming small, small groups, and that is being referred as a minilateralism. So it's a grouping of small, small countries. Let me give very basic example. For example, there is a problem in World Bank and IMF. They require reforms, but the process is very slow. That's why what countries are doing, countries are forming their own grouping. For example, BRICS is there. For example, SARC is there. For example, RCEP is there. So this refers to multiple countries coming together. Problem is the progress is very slow. Therefore, countries are forming small, small groupings. That is referred as minilateralism. Next is related to role of institutions in climate negotiation. See, understand, climate change is happening. Climate change basically means the weather circumstances are changing, and that's why temperature is rising. To deal with this situation, finance is required, technology is required. So this article basically talks about the role of various institutions in the arrangement of finance and technology. See, understand, there was earth summit earth summit which held in Brazil in 1992, and as a result of that, three institutions came into existence. One is UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So this is related to climate change. Recently, the COP 2019 of this one was organized in Baku, and during this one, the commitment of $300 billion was approved. The demand was 1.3 trillion. Okay. Second is UNCBD. What is CBD? Convention on Biological Diversity. And the COP16 of this one was organized in Cali, which is in Colombia. Third one is UNCCD. That is UN Convention to Combat Desertification. This is for biodiversity. This one is for climate change. and this one is to combat desertification. So this COP16 was organized in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. So that is all about climate finance. Next is related to WHO. Now understand why WHO was in news. We have already discussed because US announced its withdrawal. Now why USA is so significant as far as WHO is concerned? Because it is the leading financial contributor in the institution. It contributes roughly 15% of the institution's financial resources. Next is related to Indus Water Treaty. Understand, Indus Water Treaty is a water sharing agreement between India and Pakistan. So under Indus Water Treaty, actually the rivers are divided between India and Pakistan. So basically India and Pakistan. India will get the water of Satluj, Ravi and Beas. Pakistan will get the water of Chenab, Jhelum and Indus. Now, recently, Pakistan claimed that India is constructing dams and therefore India will be able to control the flow of water. India's argument is that IWT, that is this treaty, allow the construction of dam. But counter argument of Pakistan is that it will allow India to control the water flow. Therefore, India may create flood-like circumstances or drought-like circumstances in Pakistan. Now, two dam projects are important. You need to remember the name. One is Kishan Ganga project. This is on Jhelum River, and second is Ratal project, which is on Chenab. So that is all about IWT in this water treaty. Whenever there will be dispute in this water treaty, there is a dispute resolution mechanism. First is permanent Indus commission. Then there is a neutral expert, and then there is a appointment of a panel. So this is the dispute resolution mechanism under IWT. Next is related to AUKUS. So it's a grouping of three countries: Australia, UK and US. Now understand, there are various organizations which were in news. So first thing first, we have already covered AUKUS, which consists of three countries: Australia, UK and US. Now apart from this, there is another organization named Quad. Quad is a grouping of four countries: Australia, India, Japan and US. Then there is a grouping Five Eyes Alliance. This grouping is for intelligence sharing. So basically it consists of five countries. These five countries are A, UK, US, that is three countries of Australia, UK and US, plus New Zealand and Canada. This is a Five Eyes Alliance. Next is related to Quad. So recently Quad was in news because it completed 20 years. Understand, Quad was a brainchild of then Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Quad is a grouping of four countries: India, Australia, Japan and US. These four also conduct a naval exercise, and the name of that exercise is Malabar. Quad is also known as Asian NATO. What is NATO? North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Next is related to shift in India-Afghanistan relationship. Let me give you a brief background. So when US forces decided to withdraw from Afghanistan, the Ashraf Ghani government was there, but that government was overthrown and Taliban took over. Now India's policy was that we will not negotiate with Taliban. That means we will not interact with Taliban officially. But recently there was a change in this policy. Our officials had an official meeting with Taliban, and that is why it says that there is a shift in India-Afghanistan relationship, because there was first bilateral meeting between India's foreign secretary and the foreign minister of Afghanistan, and this was organized in Dubai. Now, this is the geographical location of Afghanistan. The capital is Kabul. Next is related to India European Union trade. So understand, recently there was a high level meeting, that is why it was in news. As far as European Union is concerned, there are various issues. First issue is related to carbon border adjustment mechanism. European Union is saying that we will impose carbon tax on those products which emitted carbon. For example, let's say India exports steel to European Union. EU is saying that we will impose carbon tax on this product because this steel production has led to carbon emission in India. So what will be its impact? Of course, it will have adverse impact. Why so? Because now our products will be costly in EU, therefore they will be sold less. That is one such issue. Second is, we are still negotiating a free trade agreement with the European Union. Recently, that means last year, India signed a free trade agreement with 4 countries. These 4 countries are Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. And this is referred as TEPA, that is Trade and Economic Partnership. Please remember that these are 4 non-EU countries. That means they are not the members of European Union. Now, India and EU have significant trade relationship. In fact, it is the 9th largest trading partner with India. One more thing, the 3 biggest economies of Europe are Germany, France, UK. Next is related to India-Indonesia relationship. So actually this relationship was in news because for this Republic Day ceremony, the President of Indonesia was our chief guest. Apart from that, India-Indonesia celebrated 75th anniversary of its diplomatic relationship, and we import palm oil from India. In fact, 85% of the palm oil production is from Indonesia and Malaysia. Now let's have a look at the geographical location. So this is India, this is Indonesia. So basically there is a geographical proximity and it has its own strategic significance. Apart from that, this point or this strait, this is also important. This is Strait of Malacca. This is Indira Point of India, and this one is Sabang Point of Indonesia. Next is related to India and Singapore. So recently India and Singapore were in news because of 60 years of our diplomatic ties. This is the geographical location of Singapore. Apart from that, Singapore is also important because roughly 9% of Singapore population is of Indian origin. So that you can specify in the form of significance of Indian diaspora. In fact, Tamil is one of the official languages of Singapore. That shows our cultural significance or our soft power. Next is related to BRICS. So recently in 2024, BRICS summit was organized in Kazan in Russia. And during this summit, there was a new concept of partner country or partner state. Recently, Nigeria became the new partner country of BRICS. The next BRICS summit will be in Brazil. Brazil was the host of G20 summit. Next G20 summit will be hosted by South Africa. Next is related to birthright citizenship in USA. In a very simple sense, as per the previous rule, anyone who took birth in USA will be able to receive the citizenship of US. And that's why there was a concept of birth tourism. Birth tourism basically means the pregnant woman would travel to USA. Why they would travel to USA? So that they give birth to their child in USA and subsequently their child will be eligible to get the US citizenship. Okay, why this entire issue was in news? It was in news because recently Donald Trump announced that US will discontinue this practice. That means they will no longer allow this to happen. That means automatic citizenship will not be allowed. Now understand, as per the 14th Amendment of the US Constitution, this automatic citizenship was granted. Subsequently, it was also supported by the Supreme Court of US in US versus Wong Kim Ark case. You need not to mug up the case itself, just understand the concept that anyone who took birth in USA, they were eligible for US citizenship, but now they won't be. Next is world's largest hydropower dam project, and this is going to be in China. So two important things: A, this will be built by China; B, it will be on Brahmaputra river. As of now, the biggest dam project is Three Gorges Dam, and this is also in China. This is Brahmaputra river and it enters into India through Arunachal Pradesh. Next is related to Pangsau Pass. So this Pangsau Pass International Festival was organized recently in Arunachal Pradesh. And this is situated in Patkai Hills, which are along the Indo-Myanmar border. So this is Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram. Recently, Manipur was in news because of the conflict and violence. Subsequently, the Chief Minister of the state resigned and President rule was imposed in Manipur. Next is related to Philadelphia Corridor. So understand, Philadelphia Corridor is between this Egypt and the Gaza Strip. Two important things are there. A, there is a conflict going on between the Hamas of Gaza and Israel. Recently, there was ceasefire. And that is why it was in news. So this is Philadelphia Corridor. And this is Erez Corridor actually. Next is related to Gulf of Mexico. So recently this Gulf of Mexico was in news because Trump said that let's rename it as Gulf of America. So you just need to understand the geographical location. This is US, this is Mexico, and this is Cuba. This is Gulf of Mexico. Next is related to Panama Canal. So recently the Trump said that US is going to control the Panama Canal. So this is the geographical location of Panama Canal. It connects basically the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. Apart from that, it was also in news because of the drought. So because of the drought-like circumstances, there was adverse impact on the Panama Canal, and that is why the trade routes were adversely impacted. Now understand, if this is blocked, it will subsequently increase the duration as well as the distance, and that is why it will adversely impact the trade scenario. So these were the important current affairs mentioned in the IAS section of Vision IAS Monthly magazine. Thank you.